So, Albie, happy Independence Day to you.
Happy 4th of July to you too, honey.
Well, it's Independence Day, Alice. It's not just
It's also
a day.
Independence Day. It's also the 4th
Happy
of July.
Independence Day to all you guys too. Thanks for joining us live. So, on Twitter, a listener has brought forward an emergency review request, Alice, of this woman who got on the airplane and then stormed off the plane. And did you see the video?
Yes.
Okay, so she's a pleasant-looking enough woman.
She might be insane though.
Well, Alice, this is the analysis that we're doing here.
Okay.
And so this is the audio of her last seconds on the plane.
I'm telling you, I'm getting the off, and there's the reason why I'm getting. Believe it or I cannot believe it. I don't give two fucks, but I am telling you. And you can die, but you're not. I'm not going to.
Okay, a couple of things. One, she sounds like she's from Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's pretty tough just to hear audio that you're playing over the Zoom call, just FYI.
But the audio, the people can hear it, right? No?
I don't know how well they can hear it, but it doesn't sound good to me.
Well, okay. Well, there's nothing we can do about it, and it's in the audio. If you're watching the video and somehow it just doesn't seem great, the audio I'm playing, trust me, you'll hear it when you listen to the podcast. So there you go. That is all I can do, Alice. Let's play the audio.
I know. I'm just saying that we shouldn't lean too heavily on that problem.
We're going to lean on it for a moment because it's been submitted an emergency whistleblower request from a Burn Barrel podcast. So we have to. Okay, a couple of things. One, Alice, you are right. There's something in when you reveal the core of somebody is psychotic. To me, that is sexy. And in the idea that but she's just having her own crazy blubbering breakdown, and especially like right around here.
Either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two fucks, but I am. There's a reason why I'm getting.
She's having a personal breakdown. This is not a. This is about her and her mind and whatever. This is not like me in 1993, which is where all this came from, because there's a certain type that'll always be locked onto, because my first actual girlfriend in 1993 when I was 20 she had a strong Boston Massachusetts accent, Malden accent, and she was a young lady who was far more advanced in many ways than I was, in every way, as a matter of fact. And so it was the template that I was introduced to when I was almost like allowed to be like intimate. Like she would do something like she would tell me, like, Tommy, can you rub a suntan lotion on me, please? Even though she would like over tan to the point that she was already ravaged by the time she was 20. And the idea for me back then, when I was 19 years old or 20 years old, that any woman would like knowingly allow me to touch them, like on her back with my hand. I was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible, because I didn't grow up with sisters, and I wasn't a whole bunch of chicks around me in high school. I idealized women. I had no idea what they were like, and they were an alien species, and like that I was allowed to be in proximity of one was the whole thing. So that's why. And she was psychotic a lot of times and would threaten to kill me a lot of times, and because she was also somebody who I was young and she was pretty, and so I found that template to be something that I just appreciate. So that's why we talk about these psychotic women. And I'm not the only guy who feels that way. There's a few people. Tim and Canton feels the same way. He likes crazy as well. It's just a certain respect. And Alice Shattuck herself can bring it, but in a more and something in nature tells me that I actually am in danger.
Which Alice, you like?
I do like that too. Because somewhere I feel like I'm too wretched to deserve to live. So maybe this is the moment. There's a lot. This is nothing that a psychologist can't figure out. Anyway, so this girl on the plane, no, she's just having a personal episode.
Does she at one point say that somebody else on the plane isn't real?
Yeah, somebody's not real, which means that she's just needs to be at Whispering Meadows. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. There's no excuse in the world for holding up a plane. There is no excuse in the world. In the world. I would put the horrible attacks of 9/11 should make all those hijackers burn in hell forever. They should get an extra 10 years for diverting flights because
that's your takeaway from 9/11.
Yeah, well, I believe I was succinct in how I said it. Also, the building part was very bad, and it was by far eclipses the inconvenience factor. Although they actually shut down every flight across the globe for a long time.
That's true.
Yeah, they weren't good. So anyway, so they find her attractive whatsoever. Sorry about that, Alice. I know that disappoints you.
You don't find her attractive?
Doesn't do it for me in the psycho way. She's actually a turn off in the way she's a psycho. Okay, so I want to ask you something, Alice. This is lifestyle stuff, but you are a woman, and you are the woman who I'm allowed to, because we're married and we've had 5 kids. So we have at times in our lives been intimate with each other. And as a matter of fact, it's fair to say that there has been in the past times when I have beheld you. Is that what dude?
Beheld, sure.
Beheld you in a bikini. It's fair to say, correct?
True, yes.
I have seen your beautiful body.
Maybe even with less than a bikini.
Maybe even that. That could be true.
I mean, you are a wasp. You try not to look
directly at it. No. You can't burst into flames. We don't like, seductive, warm, lambada romance as wasps. It's all workmanly. But here's my thing. So there's this new line of bikinis coming out from the mini-stringed bikini. And I sent you this, and it's got a picture in it, and it's got a woman, beautiful woman, in bikini, as you would expect. What this is what 2023 has done to me, Alice, is when it said the rise of the mini-string bikini, subheadline says crisscrossing, this is the Wall Street Journal, crisscrossing strings and torso traversing ties are taking over swimwear this season. I was so expecting the picture to load and it to be a man in a bikini. That's just now the norm for me. But no, for some reason, the Wall Street Journal is covering bikinis with women inside them. I don't know what that's all about. But so anyway, so you see this woman, she's beautiful, and she's wearing this bikini, and it's like there's the top parts, the breast part, whatever, and then there's the strings, and then there's the bottom part. So it's all stringy. My feeling is this, and the reason I bring this up, Alice, is because I was taught when I studied at the foot of this from Nancy from Malden in 1993. She told me the importance of tan lines and all that. Oh, Tommy, that's so important. You can't have tan lines. You're going to look like what you look at this. So for women, so I was like, okay, tell me more, whatever you say. Isn't this a thing? Wouldn't these create an abstract series of tan lines on a woman's body? Do women want that?
Yeah, I think there's less emphasis. Like, I think, in a way, I personally think tan lines are almost sexy, kind of. I'm more just concerned with the practicality of all those strings. It seems really.
I agree with you that tan lines are sexy. Obviously, as a guy, you're happy to be having that conversation. But they weren't for that person. That she was always thought that there had to be very disciplined and make sure that everything's just in the right place, so that you're using the sun was surgically. But it seems to be with these strings that now you're going to have unruly tan lines that you can't control. But nobody cares. Nobody cares, and nobody cares. Actually, everybody's.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're necessarily wearing that like to tan exactly. Like a lot of people who like tan go to tanning beds.
Oh, I see.
You know, who like do it in a serious, dedicated way, and like you wouldn't wear that to a tanning bed because that's like to wear to like the pool party.
Oh, I see. So that's interesting. So are there women who lie out who actually aren't tanning? They're just kind of lying out?
I mean, I think lying out is a phrase that's used particularly by people who tan, but yeah, like I don't think that if you're lying out to get tan, you would wear that bikini necessarily. Because a lot of times women will even like undo the back part of their bikini when they're like lying face down
to not get tan
when they're tanning, you know, but I don't think that. I think that serves a different function. Like, this is like body decor. This almost looks like it fulfills the function to me, like of like body jewelry or something. You know what I mean?
So what do you wear as a top when you're in a tanning booth? Because I assume you want to look like you're just this natural color.
I mean, I don't really know. I don't really do it. Maybe people do it topless. I don't know.
But you've gotten spray tans before.
Spray
I
tans, but
don't
that's
think people
totally
do it.
different from a tanning bed.
I don't think people do it topless. You couldn't do it completely topless.
I don't know. In a bed?
Yeah, but aren't certain areas more sensitive than others?
I don't know. Skin is skin. I
You're the only
think.
girl I'm allowed to talk to this stuff
I
about.
don't know. I don't, but I'm not a tanning bed person, really. You need to go ask people in Revere or something because I don't.
Oh my goodness. What an elitist. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ask people in Revere. See, I like that. See? All right, we'll move on, Alice, because you're only being
Yeah,
uh
many people go in a sunbed in a bikini, underwear, or completely naked. Depends on you and the tan lines you want to have.
huh.
Yeah. So apparently
Yeah,
people do it.
I guess maybe strippers do that. I'll ask my friends in Revere, Alice. Okay. Another thing, speaking of tan lines,
Hmm.
should I get to the last lifestyle thing before we get to politics, or do you want to get right to politics?
Sure.
Okay.
Speaking of tan lines.
So this is very interesting because I use DuckDuckGo now.
Hmm.
There's two things happening with big social media that seems to be turning almost a corner, as if like somehow this weird coalition is happening with the Tucker people and like RFK kind of people
Hmm.
and Trump kind of people. So first,
Yeah.
the judge orders Biden officials to limit contact with social media companies. Preliminary injunction orders federal agencies to refrain from pressuring social media companies on censorship. Ruled that the Biden
Oh, I thought
administration.
you were going to do a lifestyle issue. That's a politics issue.
Well, it is, but it kind of goes into another social media story that's kind of important that is more lifestyle-y.
Yeah, so this is actually big news and good news for Independence Day in particular, which is that this injunction actually bans specifically the president, but a whole bunch of other executive agencies from like contacting social media companies and suggesting that they do away with certain posts or suppress them or whatever.
Which is, of
So,
course, the problem.
right.
And this has to
So,
do with the Hunter Biden stuff, and I assume, and actually, it's kind of it's not even tangentially, maybe directly
mhm.
involved in that stuff. Hunter Biden stuff, all the stuff of the ruling that we found from who's the guy, the committee, Gomer, is it?
I
Comer,
forgot the
Comer,
name.
who
Comer.
yes,
Okay.
who found all of these intel agencies had been pressured by sorry, the intel agencies had been pressuring social media, etc. Working on they had full knowledge while they were pressuring Facebook, etc. to shut down Hunter Biden stuff. They had full
Mhm.
knowledge that
Yeah, but of course, like the mainstream media outlets are framing this as like a dangerous precedent for misinformation. So this is a temporary injunction. This isn't like the permanent ruling of the case, but the people who brought this case, among whom I saw tweeting was like the Missouri AG,
Mhm.
who was tweeting this out that they're one of the parties to the case that this federal judge in Louisiana issued a preliminary injunction saying that, like, while we figure this case out, the Biden, we think there's a high likelihood that we're going to end up finding that it violates the First Amendment. So you have an injunction. You have to stop doing this while we figure the case out. Um, so basically, they're not allowed to communicate with social media platforms about online content. So this is from the New York Times. This is this is the first paragraph of the New York Times article about this. This is the news article. This isn't an opinion piece. A federal judge in Louisiana Tuesday restricted parts of the Biden administration from communicating with social media platforms about broad swaths of content online, a ruling that could curtail efforts to combat false and misleading narratives about the coronavirus pandemic and other issues. It's a major development in a fierce legal fight over the boundaries and limits of speech online. So basically, and he actually, in the ruling about this injunction, the judge says that the government's acting as a ministry of truth and that they need to stop, which is pretty great. A White House
Yeah.
spokesman said the Justice Department was reviewing the ruling and evaluating next steps. The administration has promoted responsible actions to protect public health, safety, and security when confronted by challenges like a deadly pandemic and foreign attacks on our elections, the spokesperson said in a statement. Our consistent view remains that social media platforms have a critical responsibility to take account of the effects that their platforms are having on the American people, but make independent choices about the information they present. Not like, we're going to regulate the crap out of you and we suggest you take another look at this social media post. So of course that is exactly what has been happening, especially during COVID, and as they said about, quote, election disinformation, as we've been taken off YouTube several times for saying stuff about. By the way, Morgan's wife says people do tan in tanning beds naked. So there you go.
Okay, so then my question is this:
Mhm.
wouldn't one burn one's areola? That's a thing, right? It is the right thing. That's not mayo and sriracha sauce, right?
Areola, I think, but yeah.
Areola.
But I mean, I guess it depends. If you build up a base tan there, then maybe not.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
More questions and answers. Well, and also, so the tanning bed is below and above. You're
Yeah.
kind of in a tanning sandwich maker, right?
Mhm. Yeah, you're in a panini press.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll ask just as guys because in case people think I'm being a perv. Yeah. No, there's no way a guy is going in there with. No, it's not happening. Okay. Anybody in Revere on the chat, Ellis?
I don't think so.
Okay. In other really incredible news, Meta's Facebook faces fresh threat to sending personalized ads in the EU. Platforms, Facebook must get user consent before sending personalized ads in certain circumstances. The EU top court ruled surprise element in a broader court decision, which sided with German companies regulatory in limiting how the company can use data. This is huge because this is a direct kick in the teeth to the absolute business model for Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the EU has been pressing this. They have like a whole bunch more data privacy laws than the United States does as well.
And they find the crap out of Facebook.
Yeah, so that makes it tougher for these companies to operate there, obviously. What's also a huge threat to the revenue models of of all these companies is going to be AI. Um, because how a lot of people are starting to use ChatGPT, is causing them to not go to websites or Google search things anymore, which is obviously the Google Ads model, that they've been essentially stealing the traffic from websites and serving ads, right?
Right.
And same with Facebook. Like, you can find stuff on Facebook. You can join groups and look at recipes and, like, but a lot of people do stuff like that now. If you do it like through a chat GPT, you're completely avoiding all the ads. Like, if you ask ChatGPT to plan my menu for the week, find me a bunch of recipes, and put together a grocery list, you're never looking at an ad the whole time.
Well, I guess not. But is ChatGPT literally
It can
searching?
be. It can be, depending how you have your setup.
She's.
Yeah. But there's people doing that, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, this has a lot of implications. The food bloggers who are posting the recipes online won't make money, but also like Google, who really bears a lot of responsibility for, and Facebook too, to an extent also, but between the two of them, bear a lot of responsibility for decimating the advertising revenue for newspapers, because as news moved online, that ad content didn't stay because Google took a big chunk of the money that was being made off the ads. and ate that up, which caused, just as many people are reading news as were before, but there's not as much money to be made in advertising if you're the person who's creating the news content, because Google's eating up a bunch of the advertising
Right.
dollars, right? So basically, AI, and depending how you use it, like it really will. I mean, that's like the use case I hear like women talk about is the menu planning, but there's a bunch of different circumstances in which you can see how, if you can ask ChatGPT to Google something for you, put me together a list of this. I know there are programmers who use it to write code for them instead of going to like Stack Overflow, where people have like put together guidelines on how to use the code. So essentially, this is going to be like how Google became the internet for people, or Facebook became the internet for people. In a lot of cases, it became like the window through which they access internet content, and that's why these companies were able to so effectively eat up all this advertising revenue.
Right.
Um, it these language model AIs are going to do the same thing. You never have to hit Google, you never have to hit Facebook. Like, you can just, it will serve you the content from the
But
web
let
that
me
you're
ask you
looking for.
something without being totally devil's
hmm
advocate here. Isn't there something to be said for Facebook and Google window shopping? So, for instance, like the weed trimmer I bought, that was inspired by an ad on Twitter or Instagram or one of those places, and like the thing for the sink, like these gadgets, I get excited by some of these, and then like the model is, you find the one that's being fed to you, and then find a cheap version of it on Amazon Prime, and you're off to the races. I mean, I kind of like find that convenient, and actually, it's so targeted that obviously something somewhere was listening to me say that I need all this stuff. That I was working on gardening stuff. So this isn't it wasn't like giving me the sprinkler that's also a UFO, is something I didn't need. These are things that I was actively looking for. So it's not all pernicious. I mean, it is a marketplace out there. I understand that it's gathering information, but also, like, in sales, anywhere you're getting market research done, you're learning about people. This is just a more efficient one, is it not?
Well, yeah, and the point is though that those ads were served to you because you were on that social media app, or because you were on Google, or because you were on whatever you were on, right? And you were using it that way. And if you're not, then you're never going to be served that ad. And the idea being that eventually those language models might move us off using the web the way that we do today, just like, you know, e- even having a search engine that was as good as Google changed the way that people use the internet. Having Facebook changed the way that people use the internet. For a significant number of older people, like, Facebook is their internet. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
So, they have like a captive audience. If large language model AIs become the next like way that a bunch of people use the internet, then yeah, then that's going to change like who's getting all that revenue as well by serving you the relevant content.
Hmm. Interesting. Hey, very quickly,
hmm
what is your just like 10 cents on what's happening in France?
Um, a little hard to say. I see a lot of the content. I've seen some people debunk some of the content. Like, I know one of the burning building videos was like in the Middle East 2 years ago or something. There, not all the stuff that's out there about what's going on in France is 100% accurate. I do, I mean, it's also very tough for, as an American, for us to interpret the protests there through our political lens, because it's not the same stuff. So I know that this most recent one is, sort of like police killing related, the way it's sort of a George
Yes.
Floyd thing.
Mhm.
But, racial politics are complicated in France by like the colonial history with the Maghreb, the northern African countries like Morocco and Algeria and stuff, right? So, this is it's there's a more complicated history there, and they don't have the same history of race relations that we do here either, right? So where they have this history of like this sizable minority community over time, or the history of
Right.
slavery that we had in the United States
No, yes,
necessarily.
they've
So
been
there's
a highly more pluralistic society and tolerant.
so
society.
so I would be very cautious in trying to impose the United States like racial George Floyd lens onto what's happening in France. The protests that they were having before that were about raising the retirement age 2 years.
Right, and they have a
So,
word for it in France, the constituency that generally protests stuff, which is
right.
a mix of conservatives and liberals and etc. And
Yeah, it's just sort of
this is
weird
unique in that
populist rage.
this is yes, this is unique in that this is foreign-born people who do not like France, don't want to be called French, do not like the culture, and resent the culture and the
Mhm.
power structure. And so I actually heard one guy say that if he thought that Macron would cease immigration immediately, that politically he'd be destroyed for it, but his popularity would go up 85% in the country.
Yeah. But yeah, France in particular is a very odd political mix with an odd political history and a very like radical political history too. You know, their revolution was not like our revolution. It was
No,
I mean, they were like ISIS basically, the French Revolution.
they were much less civilized than ISIS.
I
ISIS had
mean,
a structure with departments with an infrastructure that did not cannibalize itself.
well, yeah, they had the Committee of Public Safety, right?
We got a lot of those over here.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, like they like mass drowned nuns in the Seine on barges during the French Revolution. It was like, and like Thomas Jefferson was like, they went a little far, but I'm basically for it. But they were like, yeah, they were like ISIS. It was crazy. So they have, and then, they brought their monarchy back for a while. They like did a bunch of other stuff. So they have like a very bizarre political history, and they do have a history of this sort of like populist revolutionary streak where they seem to like go nuts sometimes over stuff that like from the outside sounds like nothing. It's like your retirement age is going to be 64 now, so you're burning the city down. Like I don't really understand. But so it's kind of hard to compare the political situation there, and I don't know, like I'm not embroiled enough in that world to know enough about it where like I feel confident saying with certitude even like what's going on there necessarily, or like what videos coming out of that are real or not, which is like why I don't totally weigh in on it.
So the video that's going to own the day tomorrow, since there's nothing in the news cycle today,
Mhm.
the video that will own the day tomorrow is the Nathan's hot dog video, where the ESPN commentator. This is
Wait,
great.
can I say one thing
For
about
sure.
before we move to the hot dog thing, because I do like
Sure.
that story, but because I was going to transition to and say, like, this is also why I didn't weigh in yesterday on the breaking news about the hazmat situation at the White House, because there was so much information flying around about it. And, like, I had said that to you. I think you sent me it last night and I had seen it floating around, but I was like, I haven't seen it like confirmed in mainstream places that this was actually cocaine. And I'm like, not sure, what are we talking about? Are we talking about they found something in a homeless encampment near the White House? Because some of the sources were saying near the White House and not in the White. And so now it's sounding like, and once again, like there are some conflicts in these sources, but they did actually find cocaine. It was actually inside the White House. The conflicts mainly seem to be now where it was
Alice, so
found.
let me. I'm going to let you keep continuing a moment.
Hmm.
Let me just finish this for you. It is what you thought it was. I know you're not quite there. I'm there.
You think you're 100% on board with it was Hunter.
Yes.
So,
I think that if they
okay, so
find
the
a pile
initial,
of steaming dog crap in the White House, that's Commander. They find a pile of cocaine, that's Hunter.
Right, and he was there in the days leading up to this. So, and part of the controversy was that in the initial 911 calls, it sounds like they're saying in the library, and that is an area that's like open to the public on the tour. So they're saying somebody could have left it there on a tour, which I
Right.
already was a little skeptical about because we have been to the White House and you're not allowed to bring in anything. I had to have like a special note for our kids' EpiPens that had to be like in a special, but you're not allowed to unless there's like a medical contingency. It's not like you're in there with like you don't have anywhere to have on you bags of cocaine,
Right.
right? Like they search you when you're the public and you come in there. There's not like they don't just let anybody in off the street with cocaine. So now they are saying that it was in the offices. I don't
Right.
know. And
I saw there was
Morgan's saying in the chat that Hunter is a crack guy and not a powder cocaine guy. I mean, I don't know enough about that. Like, do we know for sure what type of cocaine it was that was
I
found
think
out?
it's any port in the storm, Morgan, for this guy, and who knows? And maybe it's easier to transport this in coffee grounds. I don't know.
I
I don't
mean, but
know.
yeah, like it definitely now they are saying that it was found. Everyone's reporting that it was found in the west wing of the White House, which is the executive offices, not where the public doesn't go, not like the part where the public likes to go. You know, um and like
On Hunter's stash,
there's a
incredible.
bunch of people, not to like that, no pun intended, like kind of blowing this off and being like, "Oh yeah, rich powerful people do cocaine, big deal. That's not news." Like it kind of is. If
Yeah,
they
rich,
found
powerful
cocaine in
people also do autoerotic sex, but in the West Wing, it's just it goes to
if they
decorum,
had
maybe.
found if they had to evacuate the White House for a hazmat situation because Trump had cocaine in the White House, can you imagine the hand wringing and the
Yeah,
hyperventilating that
as
would be
Megan
going
McCain
on?
said, this weekend cocaine, last weekend a topless woman in the Rose Garden.
Yeah, they would be freaking out if this was any Republican where this was happening. But for some reason, because it's the Biden administration, it's just fine. Like, now do we get. So the question, I guess, is now, like, presuming that it's Hunter and not some, like, coked up staffer, right? Which, like, I wouldn't think it is. Like, I don't know that White House staffers bring cocaine to work generally.
I don't know.
I mean,
Let's see who's been working on the. Who would be most likely to be?
also, don't they drug test people? Like, wasn't this a controversy at the beginning of the Biden administration? Because, like, even because a bunch of people thought that he would be nicer about marijuana and he wasn't nicer about marijuana. Like, they wouldn't hire people who had, like, they were, like, still drug testing people for weed and stuff.
I don't know. I don't know.
Um,
I just hope
so
that
I mean, like, I think people who work in the White House get drug tested. I'm pretty sure it's like one of those jobs, right? Because among other things, they don't want any possibility that you could be like blackmailed or compromised in any way, right?
right.
So I would think that would be a thing, that to get the clearances to be able to come and go from the White House without like getting searched every time, that you would have regular drug tests. I mean, maybe I'm assuming too much here, but I would
I
think
mean,
that Hunter's probably one of the few people coming in and out of the White House who doesn't get drug tested.
people have brought drugs to the White House. I mean, Jefferson Airplane used to brag about how they went to the White House and all got high. I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah,
Oh,
there's been
wasn't there?
musicians who've talked
Oh
about, I
yeah,
think
like
Snoop Dogg said he
Snoop Dogg.
smoked
Yeah,
weed in the bathroom or something. Like,
right.
and no, it's definitely out there, but I mean,
It's Hunter's coke house. You can write
you're
that
ready to
headline
say
now.
that. You're ready to say that. Yeah, but I am pretty cautious. I want you guys to know I don't run with everything the first time I see it until I've like seen it from multiple sources,
Sometimes,
like that I trust.
sometimes one's cocaine is cut with Occam's razor, Alice.
So true. So true.
Work that into the show title.
Okay, so let's go back to
This
what
is
else we
the
were doing
ESPN
here.
guys. Joey Chestnut.
Okay, so because this is audio related, can you just take a moment and see if you have original sounds for musicians on or off in the top left
Okay.
corner of your screen,
All
and
right.
see if you can turn the original sound for musicians on so that you hopefully have the noise suppression off.
Okay, it says original sounds from musicians off.
Can you click it?
So to click that little green thing? Tom L. Shattuck's Zoom meeting.
No, click the original sounds from musician off. It should change to on.
Oh, it's on now.
Okay. Now try playing the audio. Maybe we will.
Oh. Did you ever really get to hear the airplane girl? Would you like me to hear?
No, not really, but that's okay. Let's just play this now. It's fine.
Okay.
Let's see if this is any better.
Okay.
Maybe that can improve it a little bit.
So this is Joey Chestnut just won, and one of the announcers makes a comparison and then stops himself in his tracks as he grows petrified before shattering into pieces, and the other guy saves his bacon or tries to.
16. It's unbelievable. Makes Bill Russell look...
Yeah, puts Bill Russell, the late, great Bill Russell, in terms of rings. Yep, pedestrian indeed. Although Bill Russell, an all-time great. We're back with more. We want to hear from the...
That's perfect.
16.
Bill Russell, civil rights icon. Just considered canonized, the saint Bill Russell. And these guys absolutely stepped in it. I am sure we're going to get a overly lengthy apology, if not somebody just gone. But it should be said that Joey Chestnut is as good as what he does as Bill Russell is. He's not allowed to say that about Bill Russell. Just pick another player and pick a white one, please. Say Larry Bird. From now on, everybody who does trashy stuff during 4th of July is the best at it, just like Larry Bird was the best at basketball, okay?
Yeah, just pick something different. Because, but I think what's so compelling about this audio is you can feel him feeling that he's trapped partway through this.
They're all in this ride together when he goes there.
That's what's like painful about it. That audio is much better. Thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. Hey, now we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we want to go to Ben and Jerry's, or no? It's not even a story. They just tweeted out that 4th of July. It's time to recognize that the U.S. exists on stolen indigenous land and commit to returning it. Learn more and take action now. This is one of those things like the climate offsets, where they're going to find a way to somehow buy their way out of this deal. Rich progressives are going to somehow, use money and promotion and some performative action to exempt themselves from having to give back their land.
It's funny, too, because if you click through to the website they suggest we look at to learn about how we're all on stolen land, they're primarily looking at Mount Rushmore, which, of course, is nowhere near where they operate. So that already, they're picking one to talk about that's, like, really far away. They're not, like, going through the Vermont history with the indigenous people. They're not doing that.
How hilarious. Mount Rushmore.
So they're doing that, but it's funny, too, when you say buy their way out of it, because the particular story that they're telling about Mount Rushmore is that apparently, like, the Supreme Court ruled that Mount Rushmore, like, was stolen basically from them and granted them all this money, which is now worth, like, several $billion because it's been held in a trust because the tribe refused it because they said they didn't want the money. They just wanted the land back.
Ooh, I like that.
This is like the story that they have, and I haven't like looked into more details of that story in particular, but that's like literally the story that they have posted on their website, which it seems to me maybe Ben and Jerry's should be giving back their Vermont ice cream land.
Yes.
I would think so.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, I mean, not just their corporate headquarters, but all the dairy farms that they take milk from to make their ice cream and stuff. Like, that's a lot of land.
Well, not only that,
I'm sure the native peoples would like that back.
Ben and Jerry's, you've been there. They've got a cemetery dedicated to ice creams that are now deceased. Do you think there are not the remains of our ancestors? Native Americans.
Yeah, it's a native burial ground.
Exactly, it is. So, let's seize that land immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Alice, what is the hot sauce?
The hot sauce is the Chelsea Fire Wicked hot sauce. And they bring to us, of course, the Chelsea Fire Wicked hotline chat where you can leave messages and Tom will play them on the show. So
we've got 2 calls, Alice.
Okay.
Do you want to disparage those who didn't call in as Revere trash, or are you going to leave them alone for the 4th of July?
Okay. They're okay. It's Independence Day.
Dr. Cheswick, MV. What does MV mean?
Martha's Vineyard?
Ooh. Ooh. Miami Vice. Oh, that's what I mean.
Oh,
Jan Hammer, Alice. Oh, this was quite the song.
That's right. Tom Crockett, Miami Vice. Listen, Tom, now that you get the beard going, don't forget to get a trimmer because you're going to want to keep it at a certain level. And I don't think you should name your kid Vaughn, because as soon as I heard that, I thought Long Vaughn Shattuck. That is not a name you want to stick with a kid. Virgil's better.
Virgil.
Have a great week.
Thank you, Dr. Cheswick.
I do like Virgil the poet.
It's funny. A friend of ours, I think it was just at a restaurant where The Birds was filmed. And of course, The Birds stars the gorgeous Tippi Hedren, Alice, who is the mother of Melanie Griffin, who married Don Johnson. That's right.
Speaking of baby names, your son was making a big case for Ira in the car today.
I don't see it. Ira's the neighbor on
But maybe as a middle name, it could be a good middle name.
Maybe. I guess so. I guess so.
He's excited because he learned about an Ira Anson Shattuck in your family history. So
that's right.
Speaking of your family history in Vermont, Morgan has a question in the chat. He wants to know if your Vermont family referred to lunch as supper.
No, did not. We never used the word supper. I thought it was a big Catholic thing to use the word supper at all. But I don't know. I'll check with my brother to make sure, but I'm pretty sure.
But your grandmother was Canadian, so that might.
Canadian, indeed, a citizen of Britain at that point. There we go. Steve, not from Canton.
Hey guys, Steve from Gloucester. When it comes to hot dogs, I'm wondering if you guys have ever tried this. At the bottom of the bun, you put a couple of French fries at the bottom. Then you put the hot dog on top. Then you put your condiments. And I'm telling you, getting a bite out of a French fry and a hot dog at the same time, it's a good thing. It's a game changer. So you may want to try it the next time you have a hot dog and French fries.
So Steve, I'm a big proponent of putting stuff on the bottom of a hot dog. But once again, French fries.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council or whatever they're called. This is a all-you-can-eat question. We should probably address this over there. They say that the condiments do not go in between the hot dog and the bun; they go on top.
Right. Okay, they're wrong, but they should go. They go in both places. This is what I would do. I would put about a cup of mayo at the bottom of the bun, and then cement inside that mayo 1 cup of onions. Now, if you have hot peppers as well, that's fine. But that's what the bottom jaw should be sinking into, and then at the top, then do it whatever you want. But I appreciate.
Well, they say it goes bun, hot dog.
No.
And then you should have toppings, like saucy toppings like mustard or mayo or whatever, and then things like onions that stick in them, which I believe is right. You should have, and that rule goes for tacos as well. You do this taco sauce. This is really an all-you-can-eat conversation, but you do the taco sauce and then you sprinkle your onions on because they kind of stick in the sauce.
Ooh.
You know? And then you do the dry things like cheese or like additional spices. If you're like whatever you're sprinkling on the top that's drier than that, that's when you do that.
So Albie, let me ask you, what are you doing tonight? What's your plans for you're on a different coast than me, so
that is true.
It's gonna be 4th of July for me, hours before it even comes to you.
There's gonna be fireworks that are gonna be visible from our rooftop pool.
Very nice.
And the front desk said get there on the early side, so we may go shortly park ourselves at the rooftop pool.
How cool.
Unfortunately, I'm pregnant, but there's also a rooftop bar at the rooftop pool. But
tie one on, kid.
I can't, but maybe they can make me a virgin pina colada or something.
Nancy from Malden would have tied one on.
Feel like I'm participating in the holiday a little bit.
Well, all right. Post that stuff out for us so we can see it, okay?
Okay.
All right, brah. Have a good night.
Thanks. Happy 4th of July.
You too. I think you have more talking to do, though.
I do? Oh, yeah. But the problem is if I talk over the music now, I can't hear it. But thank you all, obviously, for listening and for your patience with our audio issues at the beginning.
Our audio issues?
Yeah. They
Your
couldn't hear
audio
you. That's your audio issue.
You've got issues.
And what else? I'm tired from flying, so I don't really know. But yeah, burnbarrelpodcast.com.